Good morning and welcome to another edition of Legal Access. We're here every Thursday at 11:30 to answer your questions regarding legal matters and to provide you legal information. Today's topic is auto accidents. So if you have any questions regarding auto accidents or really anything in the realm of personal injury, you can give us a call at 843-848-8080. Again, that's 843-848-8080. Today, as I said, is auto accidents. Today's show is a little unique because in the past we've had shows where we've had 2 people from Maguire Law Firm. We've had a couple of shows with 3 people from Maguire Law Firm. But today we have 4 of us from Maguire Law Firm to answer your questions. And I'll start with Brittany Jones, Mike Smith, and Tiffany Buffkin. We're all here. It's rare we can all get out and participate on the show because the work calls. But again, if you have any questions, give us a call at 843-848-8080. Today's topic, as I said, is auto accidents, but we could talk a little in a more general realm about cases in general and personal injury. Let's start with what made each of you decide to become attorneys, and what do you really enjoy about being an attorney and representing injured people?
Yeah,
start with you.
Such a good question. I wanted to become an attorney. I didn't know what area of law, and I actually didn't, some people, I feel like a lot of people who end up becoming lawyers have wanted to be that their whole life, and that was not the case for me. I just knew I wanted to do something to help people and found my way to the law, and I think that is something that we do as attorneys, and especially representing injured people, is you definitely get that sense of satisfaction, feeling like you're helping people who are going through a really hard time. So that's why and how I ended up here.
Tiffany?
Yeah, so I guess I'm the standard person who just always knew that I wanted to be an attorney. I enjoyed legal research and writing, and I remember even my first civics class where we kind of had a little intersection about the legal system. I enjoyed that, and I always knew, I know it's cliche, but I've always known that I wanted to help people no matter what career I went into. So most of my family, they're all in the medical field, and I kind of pivoted a little bit and went into the legal field, and I always just knew that that's what I wanted to do.
And you both do a terrific job, and we're, I feel like our clients are blessed to have you both representing them. And of course, Mike, I'll say is a little different in the fact that, as many of you probably know, that Mike worked as a defense attorney, sort of against us for over 3 decades, and we tried and finally got him to come work with us, and he was such an outstanding defense attorney, but he's doing an outstanding job representing our clients as well. So Mike, tell us a little about your background.
I wanted to become a lawyer because I loved debate in high school. And one of my favorite teachers in high school told me, she said, well, there's a way that you can debate and actually get paid for it, and that's be a trial lawyer. And from that point, I'd never met a lawyer. I didn't meet a lawyer until I was a first-year law student. It was the first lawyer I ever met. Wow. But I knew I liked the debate. I knew I liked the courtroom type of excitement. Loved Perry Mason on TV, and that's what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to go try cases. Yeah. And when you talk about going into the defense side, one of the things that I discovered back in the 80s when I first started practicing was most of the trial work was done by defense lawyers, because you'd have these 20 or 30 plaintiffs lawyers and there were 5 defense lawyers. And I said, well, shoot, if you want to get on the trial docket a lot, be a defense lawyer. And I tried a case. I actually sued State Farm on a bad faith case, got a verdict, and the lawyer that represented State Farm at the time was John Thompson, and he said, if you ever want to make a change, let me know. And for 34 years, I did defense work thereafter.
And did it very well, I might add. So I have some of the bruises to prove it, having cases against Mike over the years.
What about you? Why did you become an attorney?
My parents would say when I was little I liked to argue, but the truth is it's sort of like you. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I finished school. I had a finance degree. We worked all summer as doormen. My friends and I grew up with in New York City, and he said, well, I'm going to take the LSAT for law school, and why don't you just take it with me? And that's what happened. I took it, and I thought I was going to be like a sports agent or something. That didn't work out, but I found that what we're doing is really like, I feel so fortunate that it was a calling of sorts to be representing people, and it's fun because every day is different. I think, and people that are come to our office because they need help, and it's nice to be able to help. And if you're competitive, you're representing usually one person or a family against big insurance companies, and that's they have all the resources compared to what an individual would have, and so it's nice really trying to level the playing field and help them. And as Mike, I'd ask you, how has it been different for you representing individuals?
Well, one of the biggest things for me that I've seen is the actual appreciation that somebody has when you do help them. We've got people that will come to me and give me a hug around my neck and say, thank you so much for helping me out here. With the insurance industry, it's basically, well, you're doing a good job. The thank you is you'll get another file. There was no attaboys, no pats on the back. In fact, I can remember winning cases, getting calls by management and saying, okay, well, why did you do this, and why did you do that, and why didn't you do something else? It wasn't a thank you.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge difference in the appreciation that people have in working their cases out.
Yeah, and we always talk about people are coming, especially the more serious injuries, and unfortunately sometimes in the death cases, they're coming and they're not in the best frame of mind when they come to the office, and they don't know what to expect. And it really is a journey that you take together, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it really can be fulfilling. And you can't wave a magic wand and make the injuries or go away, but you could help people get back on track again, and families get back on track. And I know Mike's done a fantastic job coming in, and really, I would think that would be such a hard thing to do, to change teams, and you've just done a fantastic job doing it, and it's really added so much to our team. So, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little more about auto accidents, actually, and if anybody has a call, give us one at 843-848-8080. A question, I should say. Give us a call at 843-848-8080. Back in 90 seconds. Welcome back to Legal Access. I'm Ian Maguire, Maguire Law Firm. I'm here with Brittany Jones, Mike Smith, and Tiffany Buffkin. We're talking about auto accidents, or anything that you want to talk about, or questions that you have regarding personal injury. Give us a call at 843-848-8080. Again, that's 843-848-8080. Before the break, we were talking a little about the background of and clients coming into the office, and most of them, it's their first time having to deal with being injured and something where it's not their fault. And a lot of times they'll come in and say, and they have no idea how to value a case. And is it is a case that can be worth 50,000 or it could be worth millions? And what are factors, I'll start with you, Tiffany, that will influence a case and help maybe optimize the value of a case? What are factors that we're looking to demonstrate?
Yeah, so a lot of it as an attorney, obviously, we can do all things necessary to get a case to its optimal value, but it really is important that the client is extremely honest and forthcoming. And, so I think that being genuine with your symptoms, making sure that you're going to get medical treatment, and being forthcoming with your doctors about what your symptoms are, oftentimes provides us with the ammunition that we need in order to really optimize a verdict or a settlement. I think that one of the hardest cases that we've had are situations where I know somebody was injured and I know that they have significant limitations and it impacts their life, but life got busy and they never went and got medical treatment for it. And then working those cases up to really prove causation, that this all started at the time of the car accident or the injury, is a little harder in those situations. So that's always my advice, is to make sure that you're documenting the injuries and following your doctor's treatment recommendations. And I think that having an attorney involved early on in the process always really kind of helps streamline that process to make sure that the evidence, is there for proving the severity of the injury.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things, Ian, that I see happen a lot is that people will come in to the office and say, well, I know what my case is worth because I've talked to this person or I've talked to that person. And a case's value is dependent upon so many different factors, just like Tiffany said. There are so many things that go into the evaluation process. From the insurance company's perspective, they want to see the car totaled. They want to see massive medical bills. They want to see broken bones and surgeries and things like that to give it big value. But that's not necessarily what is a driving factor in a case in front of a jury, for example. So you guys, before I ever came to the firm, were masters at developing a case's value beyond what the insurance company looked at. And the reputation of this firm, again, before I got here, was they will take a case to trial, which is important. That's important for the valuation process. If an insurance company is looking at an attorney and saying they're not going to take the case to trial, the case doesn't have the same value as when they know an attorney will try a case.
And I want to get back to that, because the value, because I think it's a question that people have a lot of times. It's and a lot of opinions on, right? But we have John on the line right now from Myrtle Beach. John, what's your question?
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm fully covered with my current auto today. So if I rent a car domestically, should I buy the agency's insurance they're trying to sell me, or will my current insurance cover me all the way?
That's a great question. Did you all hear? So he's renting a car and he has full car insurance, or and we can talk about that in a second. But should he go ahead and get the insurance as well?
I would. And usually, especially if you're renting through a third-party company like Priceline or Hotwire, if you get the insurance in advance, it's like $7 or $8 a day. Your insurance will still cover you, and there is an insurance policy that's a minimum limits policy of $25,000 if you're in South Carolina, that already attaches to the car if you're in an accident and it's your fault. However, the additional protection that you get also covers you for property damage if it is your fault. So I had a collision in a rental car, and I was very glad that I purchased the $8 a day insurance, because it was really, I wasn't involved in the process at all. The insurance picked up and covered the repairs, and I didn't have to access my personal policy under the collision to get those repaired. So,
and you might be able to stack if you have underinsured on both. Having said that, I think it is important that you understand that yes, your insurance that you have, if it will provide coverage, but I think what Tiffany's urging, we always urge, the more insurance that you can afford, the better off you're going to be. And in that case, Tiffany didn't have to pay anything outside because she had the both policies. So it's a great question. I think, do you have to have it? No. Would we tell you, yeah, go ahead, and our advice would be to get it if you can do it, yeah.
We've definitely seen cases
Right.
where people wish that they would have gotten it, for that nominal cost of
Yeah.
$7 or $8 a day or whatever, even if it was $20 or $30 a day, where people wish that they would have gotten that, because those minimum limits get eaten up so
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
that absolutely the more coverage you have, the more options you have for stacking that coverage. You want to give yourself as much coverage as you possibly can. So
Yeah, and John mentioned he's fully covered. That can mean a lot of things, right? Your insurance agent will say, yeah, you're fully covered. Well, you've got your $25,000 limit that you have to have. You might not have underinsurance, which you don't have to have. You might not have med pay, which you could have, and it helps you. So understand that, ask questions when you're getting insurance. The cheapest rate is the absolute minimum, and if you are injured, you want to have underinsurance, right? And God forbid you injure somebody else, you want to have more insurance than less, so nobody's trying to go after your personal assets. Is that right?
yeah, absolutely. You want to have good coverage in place for all those different scenarios that you mentioned, Ian. And one thing that we've seen come up, I've seen it come up a few times recently, where people are trying to save costs, which I totally understand and get. But one way of doing that someone selling you insurance might suggest is by having a higher liability coverage and reducing the amount of your underinsurance that we're talking about, which is the coverage that you're purchasing for yourself, in case another driver's at fault and their coverage isn't enough for your medicals. And that is not a great thing to do. Just like we're talking about, you're then reducing the amount of coverage that you yourself have
For
available
your injuries
to
or your
you
family injuries.
for
right,
your
yeah.
injuries and your family's injuries.
And in a situation where you're not at fault and you couldn't have done anything to prevent
Right,
the
yeah.
harms and losses.
And so it might save costs, but I don't think it's worth it.
And please don't hesitate using your own underinsured
Yes.
motorist coverage.
Yes.
We get so many clients that are afraid to use their own coverage because it might cost them a few dollars on increased rates, but what they don't understand is the benefit that's coming back to them far outweighs that.
Yes.
And that's why you have that coverage. Otherwise, don't get underinsurance. If when you're injured, then you say, I don't want to use my own insurance. It wasn't my fault. That is in place precisely for that reason. When you're not the one at fault, but you have significant injuries. So that's something to think about. I know there's a cost benefit that goes into all of that, but really the cost of getting underinsurance and as much as you can get will save you if you're injured or a family member is injured. Okay, we're going to run to another break, and we'll be back in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about auto accidents and a little bit about our firm and our number. The number again, if you want to call us, like John did, 843-848-8080. That's 843-848-8080. Welcome back to Legal Access. I'm Ian Maguire from the Maguire Law Firm. We're talking about auto accidents, auto collisions, and we talk about people coming into the office and they don't know the value of the claim, and we sometimes say, well, look, we're going to prepare this for trial, and inevitably people are like, well, I don't want to go to trial. And Mike talked earlier about the old days, and only Mike and I were part of the old days, and Tiffany and Brittany were not. But in those days, there was nothing, there was no mediation, so cases went to trial very regularly, and you prepared your cases for trial. I actually think cases get prepared better for trial now because they're so rare, but it's so important when they do go to trial, because the percentage of cases that go to trial now are are minute compared to the old days because we have mediations and cases settle at mediation. But I want to talk a little about the culture of our firm and a lot of firms that realize the importance of preparing for trial. If you don't prepare for trial and the insurance company knows that, they're just telling the individual or the family what they're going to get. If their lawyer prepares the case for trial, then all of a sudden the insurance company goes, well, this could end badly for us, and you're going to optimize the settlement value, or if it goes to trial, the ability to get a jury verdict. And that sort of encapsulates the way we look at our cases. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I think even from the very beginning, even when a case is in pre-lit, we're pre-litigation stages.
And that's before a case gets filed,
right.
a lawsuit gets filed. Yeah.
Right, and that's a stage that a lot of people, kind of, I think, maybe go back and forth about, can I just handle this on my own, or should I get an attorney? And I think that absolutely you should get an attorney, because even at those early stages of a case, knowing that we are preparing the case for trial, or we're ready to take it to trial, it makes you push harder for a better settlement for the client. So certainly we have times, I'm sure we can all remember situations where we've had clients that are worried, well, are they gonna pay what we think the case is worth, or what I think I deserve? And if you're not willing to make a high demand or to engage in that negotiation process and really push for your client, because you're worried about the risk maybe of having to go to trial, well then, just like you said, you're just going to take whatever the insurance company tells you it's worth. Whereas, hey, if it doesn't settle, that's fine. That's no big deal. We'll file the lawsuit and we'll take it to trial.
Yeah.
And that big or else is, something that really drives a lot of settlements early on.
Excellent. Mike?
Well, I was just going to say, people's hesitation about taking cases to trial is the reason why we settle so many cases pre-lit, I think. Because if it were left up to the four of us, I think more often than not, we say, yes, let's go, let's take it to trial and see what happens. Because trial work for trial attorneys is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people do have a lot of fear about putting their fate into the hands of 12 strangers, so to speak. And they want the money now versus being willing to wait for a better outcome.
And time is money. Sometimes it's better to settle the case. You might not get as much money, but you move on with your life.
Right.
The more serious cases, we always strongly advise to let the case play out. And I've seen Tiffany take cases that the other side says has no value, and then our client was at fault, and turned it into a really substantial seven-figure case.
At that.
Yeah, so I said let them do their jobs, and you'll be happy, I promise. But John's back on the line. John, we got to be really quick because we got about a minute and a half.
Okay, one quick question. Thank you.
Yeah.
This rental insurance that I buy third party, does that cover the car I'm renting, or is it actually covering the damage I do to another person or property?
Well, did you hear that, Mike?
It's both.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's both. It should cover both, but you could get underinsurance, which potentially could cover your injuries if you want to have the ability to get more underinsurance in case you were injured. It wasn't your fault,
Right.
but it covers both. Yeah. So real quick, we're going to do like 10 seconds. What was if you took a case, what was the most shocking verdict that you ever had, or shocking thing that ever happened to you? I'll start with Tim.
So I think that would be the Med-Mal slip and fall case that we took to a jury trial, because in that case it was very low medicals. Everybody said we were crazy, and I think that our competitive nature came out, as you were talking about earlier, because the defense told me they would never pay me a dime over $30,000, and Ian and I went to trial. There were a couple of hard things with the case that we were worried about whether the jury would be able to value the case the way we had, but they came back at $275,000 after the $30,000 offer. So
that was a recent one. We got to run, and I could talk to these individuals all day long about the law, and I love them. But we're going to be back next week talking about premises liability. So join us next week, 11:30 on Thursday. And I'm Ian Maguire, and this is Legal Access. We'll see you next time.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently represented by an attorney, you should direct all legal questions to your attorney. The nature of any legal issue may depend on a multitude of factors. Therefore, the information provided in this program is purposefully broad and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact and retain an attorney in order to